you may be able to sort out. You're studying it more closely at the moment than I am. And so, once again in 33 though, just like Ishmael earlier and even Dinah or Dinah, not what I'm talking about, Hagar, Dinah's coming up, Dinah's coming up. Hagar earlier, even though she's not presented as wonderful, neither are the patriarchs. And Esau, again, though he was been portrayed negatively previously for some unknown reason, he didn't do anything wrong, really, except he didn't care about his birthright. And he was, actually, his brother was a little bit of a scoundrel for trying to take advantage of his bad state. So Jacob is presented as someone marvelous here. And again, Jacob is sure that Esau is going to be angry at him. And we're all brothers and sisters, many of us anyway, in this world. And we all have these feelings and worries about our siblings. I still have it myself at my age. I've got problems with my brother. And I never know what to make of what he's going to do next towards me. And it's really odd. It's just like when I was 5 years old. So these things will hardly change. So these are universal themes that people have to deal with their whole lives. So that's why it's so appealing to people. So this is another place here. Look at this. Anyway, Esau is presented as really generous. Brother, line 9, I have plenty. Keep what's yours. I don't need all these gifts. You don't have to bribe me. I am happy to see you. I only wanted to win your favor. Jacob said in line 16. Anyway, notice this 17. He goes to a place called Sukkot, and he builds a house. Well, Sukkot is the Jewish name for tabernacles, and that holiday is coming up at the end of this month. Sukkot. Religious Jews take it out, take off that whole 8 days, but they've reinterpreted it to mean the booths that children of Israel dwelt in the wilderness in. But here you see it's just a name of a place in which Jacob kept his livestock, because it means booths. And I guess that you put your livestock out of the bad weather in a shelter of some kind, a booth, or call it a tabernacle or whatever. So there's another. And then we have these names. And I'm not doing the overlaps. Here he comes to Shechem again, line 18. That's where Abraham came on his return from Paddan Aram. There were two names from where he went, wasn't it? One was Paddan Aram, and the other was Aram Naharaim. Remember that? And this is probably an L text, I think, here. He erected an altar again in Shechem, because he called it El, God of Israel. Israel meaning, El. That's certainly an Elohist text there. And look here. I mean, we had, I think, Abraham founded shrines there in Shechem or in Bethel several times in the narrative earlier, didn't he? But those were kind of Yahwish sort of shrines, I think, that the text had. This is a Jacob El shrine. But anyway, whatever happens, I think these all are traditions relating to these different shrines. That doesn't mean that it's new material. It's probably quite old material. Whether it's reliable is for you to decide. So since we're talking about Shechem here, line 19, let's tell another story about Shechem. What happens here at Shechem? Where is Shechem, by the way? Shechem is north of Jerusalem on the spine of the Palestinian hill line. Shechem is an area that is supposed to go back to the Palestinians for their state. It's really crazy. All the areas that the Israelites lived in now are primarily the Palestinian areas. And all the areas that the Canaanites lived in are now primarily the Israelite areas in terms of modern politics. So that's why we're having all this problem with the settlers. The settlers are trying to reclaim the land because they're biblically minded. And they say, well, this is, promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the reason we came back here. And the Arabs say, hey, we don't know anything about that. You guys are just interlopers, get out of here. We're going to kill you if you come here. We're going to cut your throats and so on and so forth. I think that the Jews would be quite willing to live at peace with any Arabs in these areas. Because, you know, they both benefit economically from this, but people there feel threatened in some way and get very hostile and aggressively bloody about it. I know that's a one-sided view, but if you have a different view that you can convince me of, that Jews want to cut Arabs' throats, I've never seen the evidence of it. Now they're getting to that point because they've had so much bloodletting. So there's some extremists maybe now. There never were that I ever encountered the last 50 years that I've known this area. So, you know, even the Bible, blood begets blood and stuff like that, so maybe now it's getting that way, but it certainly wasn't that way before. And the bloodletting was really all one way as far as cutting people's throats went. I mean, if the Israelis wanted to expel everyone from these areas, they could have done it like that. And they could have done it like that. They could have done it in 1947, they could have done it in 1967, and they could have done it in 1973. They could still do it. So if they were really bloody-minded, people don't realize that. If they're really bloody-minded, nothing. There would be no problem at all. No, they're actually quite tolerant given the provocation that they have to deal with. But they're portrayed terribly. My son said he just came back from Ecuador, and people were pointing at him because he had a Hebrew name, and they were saying, Judah, 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 Jew, 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 and they were all anti-Israel in Ecuador. Now, how they got to be anti-Israel in Ecuador, you know, is beyond, like, just from the television, watching the daily presentation and the constant, you know, harping on these issues on the TV and identifying with oppressed minorities as it's presented. So this has gotten extremely widespread and pretty frightening to me personally as how people's minds develop. Here are the materials, and Shechem is a place that and they have tried to settle Shechem, some people, but they haven't tried to push anyone out of Shechem. In fact, when they go to a place, they cultivate it and usually pick deserted places and build homes and start farms or vineyards or whatever it is, settlements on those places, and they're usually pretty thriving. As you see in the Gaza, the stuff that they blew up and left was extremely modern, type of place with, you know, trees, and they didn't throw anyone out of anything to build those things. That was just wasteland when they got them, when they started up on it. Now everybody wants it. So to some extent, that's one of the problems. In any case, Shechem is an area that is going to go back to the Palestinians, but as you see,